Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our board shop number 2. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep, I'm turning over to Dr. Cox to start our workshop number 2.
Oh, Mrs. Newman, you have the clicker already. I wanted to give you the introduction. So welcome to our budget workshop number 2. On our agenda this evening, we have, we're going to start with the numbers with Mrs. Newman. We have Mr. Oshrin, who's going to present a little bit on our staffing for 25-26. Transportation, Mrs. Newman will cover that piece. Securities and facilities, we have Mr. Palapoli. And Ms. Pulliam is going to close us out with an update on technology. We have some really exciting things in tonight's presentation, budget workshop number 2. We're looking forward to it. As you know, we completed our March 6, 2025 budget workshop number 1, where we presented the superintendent's budget, the tax cap levy. We spoke a little bit about some of the instructional enhancements that you will see in the 25-26 budget. We are now going to present on staffing, transportation, facilities, security, technology, and then at the informal budget hearing, we'll sort of bring everything together, some of the highlights between both presentations of budget workshop number 1 and 2. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Newman to start us off.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Cox. So tonight, as we go over here, we're looking at a budget increase of just under $6 million with a proposed tax levy that is giving an increase of about $3.5 million at a 2.29% increase. When we look at our total revenues, the largest portion for the school district, and that's the case pretty much in New York State, would be the tax levy, which again generates about $3.5 million. Currently, our state aid, which is based off of the governor's proposal, we would be seeing an increase of about $1.9 million. We don't know exactly what that number will be. New York State is supposed to pass a budget on or before April 1st. We'll see if that actually happens or not, but so for now we are going with what the governor's budget is. We are seeing some other slight increases, which basically relates to tuition, interest, leases, etc. We are looking to decrease our reliance on our fund balance and reserves by about $250,000 this year. That will bring us down to a cumulative reduction of about $2.5 million over the past few fiscal years. That has been part of our multi-year planning and our long-term fiscal planning to look to decrease that reliance over time. When we look at the breakdown, you'll see that the majority is utilizing our appropriated fund balance and targeting some of our reserves that can only be used for the expenses that they relate to. So you'll see that that remains fairly flat, with our appropriated fund balance seeing the overall decrease. Tonight, we'll be taking a look at the 3-part budget. Every school district in New York State must present in this fashion so that all residents can compare all different school districts within the state and is presented in the same fashion. Tonight's focus will be on the programmatic portion of the budget, which is, as it should be, the largest portion of the budget. We are seeing about a $3 million increase in that area. I would point out that that number would have been higher. Bittersweet in that we have a number of retirements, and as a result of those retirements, we were able to balance the budget much more easily than we would have. As much as we hate to see some of our seasoned veterans leave, it does help to alleviate some of the budget constraints that we face. Overall, we're looking at a tax increase of 2.29% with an associated budget-to-budget increase of 2.62%. As I said, tonight we'll be now looking into the programmatic portion, and I will hand it over to Mr. Oshrin, who will start with staffing.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Newman. It is bittersweet that we do have a lot of retirees. We have approximately 40 instructional retirees happening this school year. But we are proud to say that the integrity of our programs remain intact or enhanced, which you'll see a little bit later. Also, although our staffing plan may include efficiencies, attrition, additions, and/or enhancements, the above does remain true. Taking a look at our enrollment, you'll see the past 2 years are actual numbers, and then from 25-26 on through 29-30, those are projected numbers based on a study conducted by Western Suffolk BOCES. You will see over the past couple of years, we've had enrollment reductions by approximately 1.5%. We anticipate that those numbers will slow a bit over the coming years, but we have seen a reduction in enrollment. Taking a look at our elementary class sizes, if you take a peek at the left, you'll see our do not exceed numbers by grade level. So starting in kindergarten, our do not exceed numbers, which are not contractual numbers, our do not exceed is at 23, and then it goes to 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. If you look at the column to the right, those are our projected class sizes by grade level. So you will notice that all of our projected class sizes fall well below the do not exceed numbers. So in kindergarten, we are projecting class sizes of 21 when the do not exceed is 23, 21 in first grade, 23 in second grade, 25 in third grade, 25 in fourth grade, and 26 in fifth grade. Moving on to secondary. In Commack Middle School, you will see overall a slight reduction in enrollment at Commack Middle School. On the right-hand side, the table will show that our contractual maximum caseloads are in most cases at 29 students. However, in physical education, it's up to 40. In all of our subject areas and also in grade 6, which is housed at the middle school, you will notice that we fall well below the contractual maximums. At Commack High School, we see a slight increase. If you take a look, that's mostly at grade 12. You'll see again our contractual maximums are at 29, where in physical education it is at 40. And in all scenarios and all subject areas, we fall well below the contractual maximum. So one of the things that's really important to us here in Commack is to make sure that we maintain small class sizes so that we can provide our students with the very best instruction possible. In terms of our FTE count, you will see, I'll draw your attention to the bottom where in secondary land, we had this year 208.5 FTEs. We anticipate going down by 1.48. The reason for one of those reductions in English, we have a retirement, so we due to program changes and course enrollments, we do not have to fill that retirement in English. Also, I highlighted in yellow, a reason for a reduction in math and an increase in business is we have a math teacher who will be teaching in the Bloomberg Finance Lab, and most of those courses fall under the business area. So although you'll see a reduction in math, it's just a shifting of the bodies in that particular area. I will say with our staffing program, we are not accessing anybody. We're doing a great deal of hiring. I'd like to thank our administrative team for all the work that they're doing. There's a lot of work going on in human resources and a lot of work taking place by our administrative team, so we're proud of all of that work. In terms of special education, we remain flat in terms of our special education teachers. There is an increase of 0.5 in the area of speech. The reason for that increase is due to an additional 811 class over at Northridge that we anticipate coming on. So there will be an increased need for speech services at Northridge Primary School. Flat in the area of psychology, social workers, nurses. We also have a reduction in teaching assistants. There is no accessing going on. We have 3 retirements for teaching assistants and 1 individual who resigned. Due to program changes in student IEPs, we do not need to replace those positions. And same thing for MITA and computer TAs, we anticipate remaining flat. And now I will turn it back over to Mrs. Newman for transportation.
I know any parents who have ever tried to arrange for carpools for their own children know how strategic and difficult that can be. So we're always very proud of our Commack staff. The transportation office is maintained and manned by our transportation coordinator, Amanda Clavana, an office assistant, Mary Puglia, and a part-time clerical assistant, Susan Holbrook. We have 129 vans and buses in our fleet. and we contract with 2 different bus companies for those services. We transport over 5,000 students morning and afternoon. That also, in addition to that, I should say, includes field trips, athletic practices, athletic games, out-of-district programs such as Wilson Tech, internships, and much, much more. We had 448 field trips last year alone. All that is done by our transportation staff and fleet. The total budget for transportation is about $16 million. We do generate transportation aid that is based upon the efficiencies of our routing system. Once every 3 years, we have to submit data to the State Education Department, which they then go through to make sure that we are running as efficiently as we can. If they find that they're not, they will reduce your transportation aid ratio. Right now, the governor's projections would generate about $6.3 million in transportation aid. With that, I will hand it over to Mr. Palapoli to review our facilities and security departments.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure to present this evening for Facilities and Security. Fix this, maybe. All right. So right out of the gate, I like to show everybody kind of the projects we have planned for this upcoming summer that are already pre-approved. We have the boilers at UCP Lane. Those are probably original boilers to the district. They're oldest ones we probably have here. And conversations I've had leading up to this with Dr. Cox and Mrs. Newman is kind of investing in our infrastructure. You know, these buildings, I've said before, about 60, 70 years old, and it's time to start investing in things like this. Of course, you know, these aren't the nice, warm and fuzzy things we see with stadiums and turf, this and that, which we all love, and I love it personally too. But it's time to start investing in some of these other items as well. So it's creating that balance between the two we're trying to work on. Including in that is high school, middle school heating supply pumps. Again, something we don't see, but something we definitely will feel in the wintertime. If we don't have them running properly, we'll get some phone calls about that, so we're trying to avoid that in the future. As you can see, a lot of those are original to the building. My staff has maintained a lot of those along the way, but it's at that time we're going to start investing in these pumps throughout the district. We're doing some door placements throughout the district. The ones that are more problematic, as you can see there, that's a set of doors at one of the buildings that's rotted at the bottom. So we're taking time, reviewing all this and replacing doors as we go. Not all of them, but piece by piece, we'll start replacing all of them down the road. Cedar Road PA system, that program is growing. We've done a lot of work at that building, but you know, with the summer programs they have there, they do have the PA system in place, but we want to update it for the staff there so they have better communication with the students and staff that are going there currently. District-wide HVAC, we're getting very close. We have a few units left. We have 3 units at the high school and 2 at Burr and Sawmill. So we're starting the week after April break. I'll be kicking off that work over at the high school, and we'll be finishing probably early summer. So I'm excited to get that done. I know the teachers and the faculty are excited about us finishing that, and we're getting very, very close. So I'm happy about that. Transfer to capital?
Yeah, so I just want to speak specifically to transfer to capital, because this is a very specific budget line that can only be used for capital projects. So transfer to capital line cannot be used for salaries and things of that nature. Just to give you an example, we've been very strategic with developing a transfer to capital budget line. If you remember, last year we used this capital money to pay for primary playgrounds. This year, we invested heavily in infrastructure. We looked at the building condition survey Mr. Palapoli had presented to the board earlier in the year. It was one of those things where our architect comes in and they basically point out every single thing in the entire district at every one of your buildings that you need to improve. So you can imagine if somebody came to your house and pointed out all the things in your entire house that need to be replaced over the next 5 years, and then they turn around and they say that's cost would be, if you were to do it right now, $155 million. After you fall out of your chair and pick yourself back up about what those costs are, you come up with a priority list, because some of them, you know, don't need to be done in the first few years, and sometimes they can be spread out over the course of the years. But transfer to capital is a very specific, again, budget line for capital projects. One of the other things that's really important to note is that when I say we're strategic in creating a transfer to capital, is because we are able to do a lot of these projects, infrastructure, whether it's playgrounds or possibly We're going to talk a little about awnings. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, Mr.
please, not
Palapoli,
at all,
but
please.
or stadium lights, things of that nature. But they actually generate aid as well. So we have the ability to submit to the state through the Office of Facilities Planning the ability to get aid back, and that aid is to the tune of somewhere around 66%, 64%, sorry, 64% back. So if you can imagine, there's $1 million project, we're getting over $600,000 back in aid over time. That is, incredible. The other piece to being strategic is the ability to not borrow money, go out for a bond. We're able to do these projects in-house without paying interest on loans. So the transfer to capital is a critically important budget line to be able to not only update our infrastructure, but to improve some of the aesthetics of our buildings. So at that point, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Palapoli, because I feel like it's important to understand,
Absolutely.
that transfer to capital is definitely very specific on what you can spend that on.
Agreed. Thank you for that. So with that said, I'll show you what we're proposing for this year with transfer to capital. I think the slide speaks for itself. I was very excited when I saw this. And again, this is an artist rendering. This isn't our actual stadium, but we did actually have our logos on there. It shows Commack Cougars and what it could look like. Again, the first thing being said is that we'll be very conscious of the community and the neighbors around the area. Luckily, nothing we do in Commack is knee-jerk, so we kind of wait for the technology to come around, and which it has now for lighting. So it's directional lighting. So as you can see there behind some of the bleachers, it's basically dark behind the bleachers there. When you go a few feet forward of the bleachers, it's light, and they rate all this off foot candles. So fortunately now we have lighting where you can really utilize it just for your spaces that you want lit. Also, they're dimmable. They're programmable, so for maybe track lighting for the community, maybe for youth sports. And when I saw this, I was telling Dr. Cox, Ms. Newman, how much it reminded me of Soccer on the Stars, right? Some of us went there for that and saw the community together with the youth athletes, also the student athletes, and it was just such a smile and great feel for the community that I just saw this and I thought that right away. So how great would it be to have this moving forward whenever we kind of want to do something like that, right? But again, first things first is obviously, being very careful with the community, making sure the lights will work properly, and also they're scheduled properly for everybody. So that's something we're planning on doing, hopefully, and I think it'd be a great project for all of us.
Just before you continue, Mr.
Yes.
Palapoli, one of the things that we've experienced over the last, for years, is there are a number of our games that start at the end of the school day.
Thank you.
Because of the lack of finding bus drivers, we're unable to really move some games up, so they have to stay at 5 o'clock, and then by the time that game gets close towards the end of the game, it has to be canceled because of darkness. And then what ends up happening is we end up having to pull students out of the school, out of instructional time, to try and start, whether it's a regular season game or a playoff game, where they're coming out very early to do a 2 o'clock start. So, not only will this keep our children in their classrooms, during instructional time, but I think, as Mr. Palapoli had pointed out, the community, whether we create opportunities and dim the lights, walking the track, whether it's early in the morning or in the evening, but also being respectful. We'll consider, the hours of use are going to be respectful of the fact that we are in a residential community. But I think it's important that the technology has come so far with the LED lights that they're more like spotlights, and this is a great visual because you can see a few feet behind the lights, it becomes pitch black. But this is also going to take time. A lot of these projects that Mr. Palapoli is referring to, you have to submit to the Office of Facilities Planning. It takes months before they actually approve the architectural rendering. So some of these projects may not occur right away. They may actually occur in next summer,
Correct.
Summer
Yes.
of 2026. But we do our best in working with our architect to help expedite these, to try and get things like this in place as soon as we can. But it's important to understand that this is not something that can always be rolled out overnight.
Yeah, the process, correct. Thank you, Dr. Cox. Next, the awnings Dr. Cox mentioned earlier. So, besides aesthetics, the functionality of these, I think, is the most important piece. I know I've been personally at some of the buildings during events, and it's raining outside, and just 200 of us gathered around each other under the awning trying to get in through security, which I love they do that. But obviously the functionality piece, besides events, drop-off, pickup for the students, inclement weather, snow, whatever the case may be, and obviously aesthetically, this is so pleasing to my eye personally. And again, these are just artist renderings. That's all reinforced steel and girders. The actually roof of that is aluminum, but it has a wood grain look to it, which I really like, which kind of echoes a little bit of the lobby of the high school, similar to that look. All LED lighting underneath there, and also if you can see, I'll show you next slide here. Inside those columns, the LED lighting as well. We've had discussions again, as Dr. Cox mentioned, a lot of this is architectural rendering, so maybe bringing the grass out further, adding benches. There's different things we can do, but this is a general idea. Also, if you see the triangle there, that's stamped steel with the Cougar print in there. So we're trying to create that theme throughout the district of all this different, gold and black, and the theme throughout, which I really like a lot. So I think it'd be a great addition to these buildings if we move forward with it.
And just on that note, the other piece is if you've seen some of the cement, as you're walking into Burra Sawmill, it's really aging and creating more of a safety issue. And all of that through this process would be replaced when these awnings would go up. So it would be all new concrete work all the way up to the building and out to the front of these awnings.
Yeah, if we're already basically cutting in footings for these, it just makes sense to redo all the walkways going back all the way. And again, as Dr. Cox said, some of these buildings have some walkways that are not in the best shape, so this will cover that as well, doing this. And again, finding that balance we talk about, doing some things aesthetically and also investing in infrastructure. We have a lot of flat work we want to update throughout the district, additional security and facilities upgrades with Mrs. Pulliam as well next to me, roofing and flat work upgrades. So these are things we want to kind of encompass every year and try to find that balance between doing both, which I think is a great plan. And of course, I love highlighting my maintenance team. I'm very proud of my team, so I like showing some of the projects they do. It's a great group of guys and girls. So at Maryland Carl Farm, working in conjunction with Mrs. Centarello, we're doing a lot of work over there with the farm and Mr. Graff. We're actually expanding the farm for more crop growth. We're also adding some additional irrigation. As you see, the bee sanctuary there. I mean, I don't know how many districts have a working farm like we have here, but it's incredible. And I'm just excited to be part of this project. I really, really am. Another great space, actually we're creating these real life spaces for students. This is a room over here at the high school that my team's been working on. And when I told my team about this project, they were just so excited when they know it's going to such a great cause for students. They put their heart and souls into it. So we're about halfway through. We have some carpeting to do there come in the spring, and then the room will be complete. So I know Mrs. Lippenholtz is very happy about this. Another update from my team, we wanted to give the high school auditorium a little bit of a facelift. So we replaced all the mahogany paneling on the side with a lighter colored paneling, new trim work everywhere, also a brand new main curtain and valance we added, besides the stage where we painted last year. So again, it's not a complete redo, but a really nice facelift for the staff there and the students. I think they'll really appreciate it. This is the entryway over to the gym area at the high school. It was a little dated. The doors need to be replaced, so we did a complete new vestibule there, brand new soffits, brand new LED lighting, plywood, everything soup to nuts we did in-house, which is I'm very proud of that project, and it gives it a whole new appeal walking up to it. So I really appreciate the work my team did for that. And these are the discovery dens in conjunction with Mrs. Pulliam next to me. We've been working on these for the last few months. We finished Northridge recently, and that's kind of a pilot for these spaces. As you can see there, that's Northridge recreated, which I think is a fantastic space. So we met with the principals recently and went over their plans moving forward. And we're starting, I believe, Wood Park in the spring weeks, and then we'll move into the other buildings in this summer. But again, a nice facelift, all in-house work, and this goes to show what we can do as a group, getting things done. During my budget process, I meet with all the principals and go over kind of things they want to do, whether it be projects outside, inside, and one of the things they share with me is maybe doing some upgrades to the nurse's office. So I met there with my team and saw kind of looking through what we could possibly do for them. So we're doing all new cabinetry, new casework, even some picture windows to help them better interact with students and staff while they're there. And I know they will really, really appreciate it. We started some of this already at Burr, and the principal there is really happy with it. So we're going to continue on there and also at Sawmill. And as Dr. Cox mentioned last year, we actually added all new playgrounds to all the primaries. In addition to that was Gaga pits. My son loves this. It's something he can't get out of. But Currently, we have fry bar, which is safety servicing. It's almost like a wood chip type material. And to make it more of a fixed structure, we're adding actually a rubberized flooring like this to all of them come this summer if the budget passes, which I think would be very helpful to everybody there. So this is something we're looking forward to. All right, let's talk about Commack Security. To me, in my eyes, the best security team in Long Island. As we all know, we've actually moved forward, or we will be moving forward with armed guards next year. That's in this budget for this year. Again, we went through an RFP process. We had 5 companies submit their plan of armed guards. After that, we narrowed down to 2 based on the rubrics. We sat down with them. They were interviewed. And at the end of that interview process, we ended up going with covert security. We've had a great relationship with covert security over many, many years. Ms. Newman, about 15 years, I believe. And it's just been a great model they have, and we're very happy to be working with them moving forward, especially with armed guards. The door jar project at high school, middle school has been complete. The plan now is this summer to incorporate that over at the primaries, intermediate buildings. As you can see there, this is for all perimeter doors in a school building. So as you see, it's red. If a door is left open, it indicates on the screen that a door is open in red, and then we make sure it's closed and it'll turn back to green. So again, it's another great checks and balances for security to secure our buildings. This is our updated security base at the high school. Again, a great tool that we have where this is literally every camera in the district that they can see 24/7, 7 days a week. So at any time, a guard will be sitting there monitoring. They communicate through different buildings what they're seeing, what's going on. And this is monitored, again, 24/7, 7 days a week. And last but certainly not least, the Rave app. So this is a great communication tool that we actually have in conjunction with Suffolk County Police Department. They manage it and oversee it. And it could be as simple as maybe the police department is visiting one of the buildings. We communicate that through the day. Everybody knows that it's not an emergency. They're here visiting. It's a happy visit. Or, God forbid, there is an emergency. We communicate that way as well. And we all on the same page know exactly what's happening real time, all the time. And most importantly, the police department sees everything going on at the same time. So it's a great tool we have. And with that, I'll turn over to Mrs. Pulliam. Oh, even the microphone, no, you. Sorry.
I talk loud, Frank, but I don't know if I talk that loud. All right. So it is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight to give an overview of Commack technology and some budget highlights for the 25-26 school year. I'd like to start with showing a short video. This was a video that we put together recently. Commack was lucky enough to be asked to host the asset meeting. As a technology director, I've attended asset meetings for the last 4 or 5 years. I am proud to say that there were easily 100 people from districts all over Long Island that came to Commack. That is the most I have ever seen in my time. So we were actually very lucky and humbled to really host that many people and to be able to show our stuff and show off what we're doing in Commack. So this is a little video that will give you an insight into what we have going on. I think that my favorite part of that video more than anything else is how it really shows the story of the technology experience of the kids in Commack from a K through 12 experience. And more importantly, I think what you'll notice is that it is not a video filled with kids in front of devices in isolation. And that is the most important part for me as a technology director, that we are creating an environment where kids understand how to use technology. They are more than digital citizens, they are digital leaders, and they understand how to use technology for good, and they are able to take what they learned in their time in Commack and bring that into future careers, into their lives, and the world that they're in 2025 is just different than it was when we were all younger. I think we all know that. So it is not just my goal, but the goal of my entire team to be able to get that message across. And I think that I am very proud of the work that they've done in the past few years in doing just that. Most importantly, we believe that technology should inspire students to be fearless dreamers, innovators, and believers in their own potential. Technology is not something to be afraid of. It's something that, from the ground up, everybody should be having a hand in helping our kids learn how to navigate the digital world. So with that, our 25-26 budget, technology budget, it maintains our daily operations and it enhances both infrastructurally and instructionally. So what do I mean by that? I mean that everything remains the same as it is, and then we are enhancing. So everything from our endpoint detection to our cyber hygiene to our cyber, posture, everything remains exactly the same. We are continuing to always be improving and looking into different ways that we could leverage money and reallocate it, and you'll see that throughout my presentation. I'm very proud of my entire team because we are an all-hands-on-deck team from every single primary building all the way up to the high school and hubs. Whether it's a technology TA, a member of the technical team, teachers, administrators, you will see that everybody has kind of really taken real pride in being a part of the growing of the use of technology in Commack. So some infrastructure and hardware highlights. I have to just give out a shout to my friend Max. He believes that he is going to be the next, member of Commack Technology. He is one of our first members of our students that have actually been to hubs. His dad brought him here, and he got to take a look at some of our back-end technology. And that is really a vision that I have here, is that, kids that are interested in technology, it's my continued goal to get them that hands-on experience as they go through school. And Max was just our first visitor, so I like to give him a shout out when I can. I know he's watching from home. So one of our 25-26 additional items in the budget is additional security archivers. As I am working with the security and facility staff in making some changes to our infrastructure in security, the cameras are better now, right? So they're HD, they're two-headed, four-headed cameras. The picture quality is better. As we add cameras, it means we need more storage. So that is something that we have to look into making sure. We can't just add without adding on the back end. That's a big thing I have to make sure that we're focusing on. Wireless access points. I am very thankful. My team is amazing, and they have upgraded almost all of the access points in every classroom to date. Next year's budget is really focusing on continuing to add in spaces where maybe buildings or teachers are reporting that there might be a need for additional access points, as well as making sure that every space that's used as an instructional space has connectivity. What do I mean by that? We use instructional spaces all different types of creative ways, right? It's not just in a classroom. So I need to make sure that if there are instructional spaces that are being used that are unconventional, we have a way to add connectivity to them. As you saw in that video, we do things like goose chases over here. Those are digital scavenger hunts. So we need to make sure that if kids are going into certain areas of the buildings to do certain things, they have connectivity if they need it. One of the things we will be working on next year is the continued PC rollout. So we'll be adding another 650 PCs into classrooms, computer labs, and more. The continuation of the upgraded Chromebook fleet. So next year's budget does include Chromebooks for our incoming K-1 students. That will mean that we have Chromebooks, touchscreen Chromebooks for K through next year will be 10th grade, so there'll only be a few grade levels that do not have them, so we will be continuing to add to that fleet. As you can see, this is some of our youngest learners and the way that they're interacting with the touchscreen. It has been an absolute game changer for our youngest learners, so I'm really excited to be able to finish that off as well. Some instructional highlights. One of the things I'm very proud of here is that I do work with the curriculum associates and the curriculum team on a lot of professional development. I do a lot of professional development here, and the district is amazing. We have so many amazing curriculum initiatives and curriculum directors, and sometimes the technology PD ends up being something that gets pushed away. It gets pushed away because we have a new science curriculum or next gen standards, and I'm thankful that I work with an amazing team of people who have helped me find creative ways to make sure that we are including the instructional technology PD. I am proud to say that we launched this, I would say by the time we launched it was probably around October of this year. We have over 114 certified teachers in the district in one software program or another. So it's not all in the same, but over 114 people have taken our asynchronous professional development in technology. We partner with these software platforms to get them these certifications. They get their PD hours, and I love the idea of PD in your PJs. Who doesn't have a kid who's in a soccer team or, a husband who works nights? I know mine does. So the fact that I'm able to do these and not have to be in a physical place makes a big difference for a lot of people. And I think that we've seen our software, I know, I see it every day when I'm looking inside Clever. Our software usage has gone up since we have encouraged people to take these classes and earn these badges. They even put them in their signature lines on their email. One of the things I'm very excited about is that we are going to be transitioning away from the use of Screencastify as a platform, and we are going to be taking that money and putting it into the use of WeVideo. Screencastify is a software that really became popular during COVID, and it does exactly what it says it does. It gives you the ability to record your screen and make a video of what's happening in the class. Well, WeVideo does the exact same thing in a Chrome extension, but it does so much more. What you're seeing here is a video. Currently, right now, I have a 5th grade class in Burr working on an indigenous species project, and the kids are actually able to create their own video talking about that indigenous species. They're able to talk about they're able to actually make the video themselves and be a part as though they're in, the ecosystem where they're learning. So it's a really wonderful, they're able to use it for news creation, newscasting, news channels. Teachers can use it to create videos for the students. So, there's a lot here. And that's, again, just to let everyone know, that's a large part of what I do is I examine what our usage rate is on our softwares. Are we spending our money in the right place on the right softwares? And is there something else I can get that will serve the same purpose and give the teachers more? Because, my role is really in that of supportive instruction. Like, what do the teachers need, and how can I best utilize our money that's in the budget to get them what they need? Another addition, something that I would really love to bring to the primary and intermediate schools is a coding program. Right now, we are currently piloting 2 programs in the district. We are looking at Codable, and I do have 3 other people looking into learning.com. So right now we're in a pilot for both programs. There is money in the budget next year to be able to purchase a program, and I really am relying a lot on the instructional leaders in the buildings to tell me what they like best, and we're going to be reevaluating those at the end of the school year, so that come September we can invest wisely in a program that's really going to give the students the ability. What you see here is these are 2nd graders coding a fuzz. They're able to make their own fuzz by coding it using block coding, and then they're able to actually use that fuzz that they created to go through all different types of coding challenges. They love it, and the teachers love it as well. Finally, I know that Mr. Palapoli touched on the discovery dens. One thing when I got here that I noticed primarily in the primary buildings is that the computer labs were basically the old school computer labs that you would have seen when we were in school. Computers scattered around the room in a desktop computers, in order to update to the needs of the students in 2025, we are reimagining those spaces. And the Discovery Den is not a class, it's really a state of mind, right? It's a place where kids are able to come and just, as Nicole Alexandrovich, one of our library media specialists, always says, she says, use their brains, give them the time to just experiment and use different types of things. Within the Discovery Den, there's all different types of coding robots, there's touchscreen monitors for pixel art, there's green screens, there's iPads, there's opportunities for virtual field trips and virtual learning, and it really is a wonderful, wonderful space. The pilot Discovery Den in Northridge has been huge success. The kids don't want to leave. They ask when they can come back. And, you know, it's a fun and exciting place for them to visit. And I'm thankful that we're able to, you know, provide for the students a whole new way of learning. You can see there, they're doing an unboxing of a turkey dinner, of Thanksgiving dinner. It was a mystery box. They had to all talk about what was in the box and how they would make their own Thanksgiving dinner with what was in the box. And they did that for a green screen project. And finally, we are in our AI era over here in Commack. Part of the budget does include for Commack High School. Right now, we are currently piloting Brisk AI, Brisk Boost, which is student-safe AI. What you see in this video is a high school class where they are doing a research project on a historical figure, and they're actually chatting in a chat bot with the historical figure to learn more about that figure. It's basically safe AI, as opposed to having them going onto ChatGPT or another site and just getting the answers. It is teacher monitored, teacher generated through assignments, and as you could see, it did translate directly for that student, and it does it into over 172 languages. Excuse me. So that was the end of my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ms. Pulliam. So that concludes our budget workshop number 2. If we want to just go to the next slide, I think we have an opportunity for the board to ask any questions related to budget workshop number 2.
Thank you both so much. I'm really excited to hear that the Borough Walkway is going to be repaired, because that is really a hazard. And technology, you know, I love it. I had the opportunity to be at the Asset Tech Conference this week, and I saw the librarians talk about what they're doing, and it's amazing. For the access points, the middle school, anything with like the auditorium and the hallways and all of those areas that maybe aren't so instructional but are hard to access?
Yes. So the auditorium, the middle school auditorium, is not in the current budget. That's a larger project that needs a wireless engineer. It is something that we are planning to leverage Smart Schools money with in the next Smart Schools plan. Both the auditorium in both the middle school and the high school.
Great. For staffing, so the do not exceed numbers, I know they're lower than the contractual numbers. They're still kind of high. At what point do you decide to open another section for elementary?
So Mr. Russo and I continue to monitor the enrollment as the summer starts to progress. So we constantly get the numbers on a week-by-week basis from the registration office. So once we start to get close to those do not exceed numbers, we'll come down to Dr. Cox and have the conversations about whether or not it's time to open a new section. So we're constantly monitoring.
And I guess this is more of like a straightforward question. Is there any plan to move the intermediate ICT structure model down to the primary? Or is that-
Yeah, I can speak to that. So I think we're in our second year this year of the ICT model in 3 through 5. We have created experiences where some of our primary teachers have come up to visit to see what that model looks like. And we have decided that in year 3 is where we really complete that full evaluation, and part of the 26-27 budget, we will determine whether or not we want to move in a direction similar to the direction that we moved into the intermediate, and make the primary school sort of an integrated co-teacher model. That's the plan. Thank you, great questions.
All right. One quick question I do have is just looking at, I know they're just rendering, but one question that I do have is with Sawmill. We will ensure that even with this awning, you'll still be able to see the John J. Mandrakia piece?
Yeah, we can certainly arrange that. You know, there's conversations about even the lettering at the top of the awning, whether we want Sawmill Intermediate School, if we want John Mandrakia, you know, like, so those are conversations that we can have. I don't know if Mr. Palapoli, you want to weigh in on that as well?
As you stated, yeah, these are just artist renderings. I mean, there's a lot of different variations we can still do to those, even added benches possibly. So any comments or concerns you may have, we can bring those up to the architect for sure.
Great. And I'll just comment and thank everyone for their hard work on the presentation here. I know after Soccer and the Stars, I did mention at that board meeting where we highlighted it that I was in favor of investigating into what stadium lights might look like. And, you know, this is 8 years now on the board, I can finally go back to all my constituents and tell them that we know when the lights are coming. So I thank you very much for that. That'll save me a lot of time when I'm on the sports field explaining to them why we haven't had them to this point. But I think using the transfer to capital is a smart way to get this done. It's really the only way that we could get this done without floating a bond. And you know, obviously this is a much more responsible way. My question would be, and I know the answer to this already, but just in case there's anyone out there wondering, we will follow all town and neighborhood ordinances that would come into play, and we'll have all the proper permits in place, right?
110%, yes. Our main concern is making sure that the neighbors around that area understand that we're very conscious of that. That's the most important thing we're looking at with doing this, 100%.
Great. And, you know, I love the fact that, you know, even highlighted in the benefits is our youth teams being able to use it. We watch our youth teams, you know, really come October, they travel to other towns, you know, and squish in on other town fields and little corners of space just so that they can have lights. You know, I've seen teams out there holding their own flashlights. This is great, and very excited about it, and happy that we were able to bring it to fruition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback on the same thing with the lights, we know it's being 26, 27. We know it's for some of the games, but will the lights be on for the general public for, let's just say, the summertime and something like that? What's the anticipated light usage on other times?
I think there's conversations. I've already been talking to neighboring districts about kind of their schedule and how they handle that. Those conversations I'll have with Dr. Cox, Mr. Friel, Mrs. Newman, how we plan that. But, you know, again, the beauty of it is they're all programmable. So, and also we can dim them. So say maybe a few nights a week we want to make a walking track, we can dim the lights.
Right.
And Friday night we have the light lit up for a game. But anything's possible depending on what you guys all would like to do with it.
Okay.
I
And
think when it does come down to that, Mr. Hartman, I think we will have to, you know, look at putting a policy in place
absolutely,
in
put a
terms
policy in
of,
place.
you know, what time that would be at, but, you know,
Impact to security, because there's got to be more security during that period of time. Yeah,
absolutely,
it's
but
all
we
posi-
always
it's all
say,
positive, but
Correct.
there's the other costs that come with it. So yeah, and people, the good point that Dr. Cox mentioned, it's not coming this summer, right? So I don't want anyone to think that,
Right.
you know, September 2025, there's no lights on the field. It's
No,
probably
it all
a
has to go-
year is- if you get in next summer, I'll be pleasantly happy. How's that?
Yeah, everything still has to go through SCD for approval, architectural review, engineering review. I have to get with PSEG and get a load letter depending on how much load we need for it. So there's some steps before we get to it to have it actually planned and done.
Yeah, okay. And just, I'm not saying it's gonna be in the budget or anything, but I think we as a district need to consider it's getting pretty close for the public to know that the cell phone ban in school districts sounds like it's coming as part of a negotiation package. So the governor, just letting people know, the governor's proposing that there's a complete cell phone ban in schools, which, again, as a board member, I'm completely opposed to it. That should be ruled by the district, but it sounds like it's part of her negotiation package of a state budget going forward. I don't see, as Mrs. Newman said, I don't see them signing by our next budget meeting, so I guess the impact of any kind of additional state aid we may get, we won't know maybe until even after we adopt maybe even after we adopt the budgets for people to know, which happened last year. That I don't foresee them. I think they're actually. I mean, we are closed Monday. I think they're actually off Monday, so if they don't get something done tomorrow, they're actually past their deadline again for another year. So, and so again, I think this is a great budget this year. I think we're just the public again to know is that certainly a lot of things worked in our benefit. As you said, health, you know, like the health insurance increase wasn't that great this year. I'm amazed how low it was. The ERS and TRS was also low, but I am putting out the cautionary flag, people to be aware of that. I think there are changes in the horizon. So from the federal government all the way down, which affects the state governments, which will affect our schools. So I'm glad for all the things we can get in this year, and I'm kind of happy with it. I'm also, I see our numbers are, even at a 2.29 is lower than most surrounding areas as well, which is, I think we should be very proud of as a district, right? So, I mean, we always, you know, other districts are in the high twos and we're still in the low twos, and look at all the stuff that we're getting. So, but just to make sure people are aware in the public that, yeah, I think the next couple of years that most districts are going to be very tightening their belts a lot more than considerations going to have to happen. So, but again, great budget, great great presentation. I really need this. That video blows me away. Great job, everybody. So thank you for everything you put together.
Thank you. Any other questions? So next time we come together will be April 3rd. That will be for our informal budget hearing. And then our official board meeting is on April 10th, but the informal hearing will be on the 3rd. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out this evening, and for those of you that are streaming in, looking forward to another successful 25-26 budget season. And that concludes our budget workshop number 2.
Right. I did mention the superintendent, the board has requested to go back into executive session for a few minutes just to keep it up. So I need a motion to enter executive session at 8:06. Yes? Oh, I apologize. You are correct. You're doing, so you thank you for reminding me. Before we do that, are there anyone in the public that has questions on this budget workshop? Thank you for reminding me. If not, you'll have your opportunity again to ask it a week from today. So keep those questions ready. Same bad time, same bad channel. So a motion to adjourn executive session now at 8:07 for the purpose of discussing employment histories of particular individuals. Can I get a motion? Can I get a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Have a good night, everybody. See you next week.